You're welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn how to draft kiddies pants. After this tutorial, you would agree with me that drafting and sewing kiddies pants are the easiest of things to do. The measurements written out here and the measurements I usually use, and I have two methods I use in sewing for children, but I'm just giving you one method because this video is really long. Okay, so we need to make some calculations before we start drafting. What you need is the child's hip measurements, round the hip measurement divided by 4, then you add 0.5 to 1 inch depending on the kind of the kind of trouser you're making for the child. Okay, then you can also take the child's body rise measurement and compare with this hip measurement to know that you are actually on the right track. Then you go ahead on your pattern paper. What I initially wanted to do was what I did initially was actually to draft both front and back on this pattern paper, but I noticed that it might confuse us, so you may get to see red pens here and there, but don't worry about it because I had to correct that by drafting on a separate paper so that it doesn't confuse us. All right, you know what Cleddy does here is just to make the job very easy for us. So you start with your starting line, then that body rise measurement is what you mark there, or the child's hip divided by 4 plus the 0.5 or 1 inch. Then you mark the hemline as well. Then go ahead and mark from the waistline to the knee line, waist to knee, and mark out a straight line. If your pant is going to be on this, your pattern is going to be both front and back on the same line, remember to start your starting line at least 2 inches away from the main paper itself, and on the side 3 inches away. All right, then go ahead and label all your lines. Go ahead and label all your lines, because wherever you are labeling is where you're going to input the measurements for each of these lines. Then on the crotch depth line, this is now your crotch depth. That body rise measurements you took is your crotch depth line. So in your crotch depth line, go up by 1.5 inches. It works for children. For adults, you can do 2 inches, but for children, go up by 1.5 inch and then mark out a straight line. Then on the waistline, you mark out the child's hip measurements divided by 4. If you're going to put ease, go ahead and put ease. But for this child, I didn't have to put ease on the pattern again because I'd already used ease round the child's body. Okay, then for now, since I was sure of all my lines, I had to use my marker to make bold the lines. Please pardon my croaky voice. I am really straining my voice at this point, but I just had no option. I had to do this. On the waistline, go ahead and mark out your waist measurements, the child's waist measurement, of course, divided by 4. Depending on the kind of pants you're making for the child, you can add 0.5 ease or leave it that way. The hip measurements, you leave it that way if you're putting elastic, especially for diaper allowance, for children that are smaller, for diaper allowance. On the crotch depth line, you're going to go in by the child's hip measurements divided by 20 for the front. For back, it is divided by 10. Okay, then up there on the 1.5 inch, you go in by 0.25. This is just a guide. On the 0.25, it is like a guide to make a good curve. Then you make your curve for the crotch extension. Now that is called crotch extension. Then go ahead and mark from the beginning line to the crotch extension, divide it into 2. That is going to be your crease line. That center line now is called the crease line. This will help you, share your measurements evenly, that the trouser does not shift to the front or move to the back. The sides does not shift to the front or move to the back. Okay. Then on this knee line, your child's round knee measurement divided by 2, then you share it evenly. That means if the round knee is 10 inches, it means you're going to take 5 for the back, then 5 for front. Then you divide it into 2. At that crease line, 2.5 on this side, 2.5 on the other side. I hope that makes sense. On the hemline, you do the exact thing as well. And you mark out your straight line to the knee line, from the hemline to the knee line. But if you noticed, the marking I used the other side of the curve to mark from the crotch extension to the knee. It was not a straight curve. You saw that it was not a straight line. It was, you can see what the part of my pattern master I'm using for this. Now there are varieties of pants. Okay, we have the palazzo. There are different types of pants we make for children, jumpsuits and all of that. We have a class that is coming up in September. If you're interested, the details are on the screen. Please send a message to the number on the screen. Let's continue. The next thing you will do is to come down on the waistline. You come down on the center part. You come down by 0.5 to 0.75 inches. Don't go beyond 1 inch, please. 0.5, 0.75 and 1 inch is okay. Then you connect it to the side. And if you're making the one that has zipper fly, or the one you want to just make something like a zipper fly for aesthetics, then you can go ahead and make that extension you just saw me making there. If not, this is all we need for the front. Now I had to draft the back, just like I said before. I drafted the back on this, but I noticed that it might confuse us, so I had to trim it out and just do it on a fresh paper. Now I'm going to place my front pattern on a fresh paper so that we draft out the back pattern for you to see. The truth is, with this pattern, you can use it to alter it to different types of pants. That's the truth. And in my class, I'm going to teach you how to alter this as well. But that's notwithstanding, let's move to the back. On the back, of course, I'm drawing out the crotch extension line because we need to make extra crotch extension. For the crotch extension for back, I divided the hip measurement by 10 and I marked it out on that line. Then I connected a line I marked out 1.5 inch and extended it. Depending on how big the child is, you can do 1 inch, you can do 1.5 for that extension on the upper part. On the waistline, you can do that extension so that when they sit, their trouser does not gape. When they sit, their pants will not start showing. It just sits perfectly on them. All right. Then on the sides, I did 1.5 inch all the way through and marked out the lines so that I will be able to notch it and know that, okay, this is the lines. Then on the knee in the center part, I did 0.5. On the hemline too, on the center part, I also did 0.5 inches and I connected all the lines. You can see how my curve is being used at that point. It is not a straight line, please. It's not a straight line. Then now also look at how I am connecting this to the crotch extension. I am not making it a straight line. I'm just making it a slanted line so that it accommodates the child's butt area. Okay, it accommodates their butt. It accommodates even the diaper they're wearing. Then this other part is 1.5 inches. The back does not have plenty issues, not at all. It doesn't have plenty rules to it. Once you know these techniques, you are good to go. Draft it out and then cut out on your pattern paper and cut out on your fabric. See, I love working with patterns because I make whatever mistakes I'm making, I make them right here on my paper. And when I'm transferring to fabric, I know that I do not have to make mistakes on that part. Okay, this is basically it. I hope you learned something new today. I cannot wait to see all the beautiful trousers you have to make for children. And please don't reject any trouser job again. I hope Kiddies has helped you. If you're coming across my page for the first time, I am Kiddies. This is not my real voice. This is not my real voice. I am Kiddies. I hope to see you in another class. For now, we are done with the front and the back pattern. I'm going to open this up for you to see how this looks. Here we are done removing our tape, and here is my front block and here is my back block. Label it and confirm if the sides are aligned. For mine it did, and that was just basically it. Please like, follow and share. See you on my next one. Bye.